Hey everybody, welcome to Cardboard Commander. My name is Jerry, and we are finally going to get the replay started for Kharkov, Enemy Action Kharkov. We're playing the Soviet solo rules. And so with that, I wanted to kind of show you how I've got the map set up and how my setup is so you can see how we do this. So again, I've got the map all out. This is my filming camera for when I do the turns. But the camera's just so big I don't like to lug it around, so I'm using my GoPro right now. So I'm going to go from the left to the right of the board as you set up and kind of show you how this works. So down here is the reserve pool. So if you notice on the time chart up here, it's 3 days basically for the chart. So whenever you take reinforcements, which are these units here, whenever they come into play, they drop down to the reserve box, and that's when you get to add them into the game. And there's some other rules for that, but that's kind of the gist at the beginning. So these are the opening game reserve. These units here are replacement units. So when certain units flip over and take losses, then they go off the board and they get replaced with these units. And those are usually the 3-step units that when they get flipped, they become one of these. The German cards are all separated over here. These cards aren't in play yet, but these are all separated and they have been shuffled. Again, I kind of showed you up here. This is the turn chart, and those are all the reinforcements for how they come into the game. And each turn has specific rules that you do during the turn. We're only playing 6 scenarios because this is a second scenario, so we're only playing 6 turns. Then you've got the terrain effects chart up here, and over here I have the replacements for the Germans, and then the reserve German box is up here next to their elimination box. Sorry if there's a glare, folks. So now we're going to come over here, and this is the map all set up. All the garrison units are out. There should be 10 garrison units on the board. And they have specific hexes that they go into. So let's count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 on the board. This unit starts in Kharkov. And then if you come down here, this is the opening setup for the scenario. You come over here to the right. The Soviet cards are set up over here. These have already been shuffled. I just haven't picked my hand yet. These are activation chits, and I'll kind of show you what I do with those while we play the game. This is my chit bag, so all the chits go in there. You got to be careful when you say that, chit bag. And then there's another terrain effects chart up here, so I keep that up there as well. I've got a couple containers that I use for certain counters, so basically got, improved position counters and control counters. Then I use this. I use some dice, and I'll show you what I do with those for combat and everything, but that's where I keep them. These are activation charts. I've got my handy dandy tweezers, and when you get old like me, sometimes you need a magnifying glass. And then last but not least, I made a chart reference book. Basically, I took the pages that were in the play aids and laminated them and put them in a handy dandy little book in the order that we use them. And this has really helped out a lot, especially during the learning sequence and all that. And everything's here, and I don't have to worry about destroying my regular player aids. So they're all here. And then, of course, I've got the rule booklet, which we will be referencing often because this game is pretty crunchy. So just wanted to kind of show you what we're going to get started with. So what are we waiting on? Let's play the game. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the Soviet hand. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle those right here. And we're going to draw the 5 cards for the Soviets. And those cards are 3rd Tank Army, 69th Army units, the 6th Army, Southwest Front, and Mobile Group Popov. So that is our starting hand. So I'm going to go directly down the sequence of play. So in the first turn, the reserve phase isn't done. We've already done the card preparation, and the supply phase isn't done until turn 2. So we go right to the command phase. For the first 6 turns, the Soviets are they start off the game turn. So first thing we're going to do is play a Soviet card to initiate one of the following commands. So we're going to look at this. This would activate, so it would deploy units in the reserve box. There are none. It would activate 2 units of the 6th Army, which is this color down here. So we're probably going to wait on that. We're not going to use that one. The 69th, it is over here, and it will activate 2 of those units, as well as grab some reserves. There's none reserved, so I don't know if we'll use that yet either. The 3rd Tank Army, that will also only let us activate 2 units in the 3rd Tank Army or deploy reserves. Mobile Group Popov up here, we can activate all of the mobile units, which are the yellow. And then Southwestern Front, you can deploy all Southwestern Front reserves, or you can activate 1 Southwestern Front Army plus Southwest Front units stacked together, and then activate 1 unit, or use any command event if you want to use the event. So, man, not the best hands, I don't think, to start off with. We're going to go ahead and activate the all units in the mobile group Popov. So I'm going to put this right there. I think you can still see it. So I put it sideways just so we know we're using it. I'm also going to grab the activation chit and put it on top. So when we put the card back into the deck, I'll put that chit over here so I know that for the next impulse, I can't activate Popov. So with that being said, we're going to move all the yellow, the Popov group, and what we're going to do is I think we're going to try to get a little breakthrough through here. So with that being said, this group here, so mechanized costs 1 to go into clear, so 1, 2, we'll stop there because that's in the zone of control. We're going to do the same thing with him. Now with these folks, what I do is when I activate them, I go ahead and just turn them sideways, just so I know I've activated them and they've done their move. Now he could move because he can actually go out and then come back in, but we're going to look at that first and see what that looks like. These 2 are actually going to just stay there. So the only other one we're going to move is down here, and he's just going to move into here, which is 1 movement point, and then we'll enter into that other area there. So that's all we're going to do for movement. Now we're going to go down and look at combat. And so I'm going to go right through these steps of combat on the chart. So again, folks, I want to preface this by saying I'm learning this game. So if you've come here to see the perfect playthrough with no mistakes, you're in the wrong place. So if you see something I mess up, let me know, and I'm going to mess up. Let's learn together and let's have some fun. So we go to the combat procedure. So we declare an attack. So this is where I use the cubes. So I like to put these cubes on the unit that we're attacking. Like I said, we're going to attack that unit right there. Then you play combat cards to help your target. So we have any tactic we can use here, fixed artillery here, which we already have artillery because they're behind that dotted line. That's the Soviet artillery line. Or you can use tank brigade. And let me tell you what tank brigade does. There's some really nice player aids here, and it gives you kind of everything that you can use. So tank brigade, add 2 to Soviet combat strength if attacking, 1 if defending. This adds armor to Soviet units in combat if they do not already possess armor. Reduce total hits incurred by the Soviets in the combat by 1. The fixed artillery is basically functions like artillery combat tactic, but can be applied only if the defender's hex is in the Soviet artillery barrage zone, or within the current fixed artillery range zone. And then any is pretty self-explanatory. We can pick any of those. So we're going to go back to combat procedures. And I don't think, well, let's see. We're already armored, so we're not going to play tank brigade. So that's all we're going to do there. Now the Germans draw a card for their defense. If they can use it, then it stays in play. If not, they don't get to draw another card. It's just they don't get to use one. So they will get to use it. So it's called pull out. And that happens before the combat even occurs. So let me read that to you. So pull out. Defense only. If the combat ratio is greater than 4-to-1 and is in a non-VP hex, retreat the defending stack 2 hexes prior to combat in accordance with the retreat rules. Do not place a disperse marker. The retreat must end in a hex in German supply, and the attack is considered done. So let's see if it's over 4-to-1. So they have 3. We have 4, 7, and 11. So we have 18 to their 3. So yes, it's over 4-to-1. That's a bummer. So they're going to go ahead and retreat 2 in accordance with retreat. So they're just going to go back. They're going to go back there and then retreat back into the cover. So they're going to go back there. Now with pull out, I don't think we can advance, but let's double check. Oh, the attackers may advance after combat. So the combat was here. So we are going to go ahead and I'm going to flip these guys back around. They are going to go into there. You're allowed to have up to 6 steps. So that's 2, 4, and you know what we'll do? We'll do this because you have to advance. Nope, they're gonna do that. These guys are too big to move in there, so they're just gonna stay where they're at. So not what we wanted, but that's the first card play. Now we go ahead and put these cards back in the deck, or I'm sorry, in the discard pile. I'm gonna take the activation marker and put it down here at the bottom of the board so I remember. And then we throw this. Since this card says primary on it, it goes in the primary discard deck. And then we draw up one more card, and the new card we pick is the 6th Army, and that gets to activate the entire army. So that's a little better. So now we come back to the sequence of play. It is now the German impulse. So basically we draw the top card from the command deck. So we come over to the command deck. And then it basically says resolve command event if it applies this game turn. Deploy reserves in cards formation if minimum number of eligible units specified in command are in the box. So the first thing says deploy all 3rd Corps reserves. We do have one over here, so I'm going to reach across. There's a reserve. So now we're going to see if we can place a reserve, and there's a priority chart for placing reserves. So we're going to go to the German reserve. Units in German reserve box are deployed, place on the map. During game impulse via deploy reserves command, so now it says units in reserve box that match command card formations are eligible for deployment. So turn 1 through 3, check every eligible unit for deployment by method A only. Deploy these meeting criteria, those that don't remain, for those that don't, deploy those meeting criteria, those that don't remain in the box. So, and then we use method A, which is right here. So I'm just gonna read those down. So the first thing that it says is it says hex is empty or garrisoned, or is a city hex occupied by only one German step, and it also has to be in the reserve unit's army range. So this is a first Panzer, so that is this group over here. And I don't know if you guys can see this line very well, but there's a gray line So that's the first army group over there. So they have to come in on this side of that. So they can't be in the Soviet artillery barrage zone. So they can't be behind this dotted line. So they've got to be that direction over there. In German reserve supply were reserve placed in that hex. So wherever we place them, they have to be in supply this early in the game. That's going to be good. Unit would not be in danger of surround if placed in hex unless in a German city, in German map edge hex, or placement removes danger of surround from another German unit. So he can't be placed in a hex that he's afraid to be surrounded unless he's taking the surrounded away from somebody. Now right here, folks, I don't think anybody can maneuver around because they're all in zone of controls. All these Soviet units are in zone of control. So I think we're not going to be able to place these guys. Hex is not a Soviet city or town, and it's not adjacent. So, and also in German reserve supply, it would be in supply Soviet unit proximate to the hex. So that's going to keep us from doing it because there's not a proximate means a Soviet unit could get into that hex in one turn. And because of the zone of controls, that's not going to be possible. So these are going to go back up into the box, and I'll put them up there at the end of the turn. So we can't do the first part. So then the event is air supply. So we go look at the German events. In one hex containing unsupplied German units, place all units in full supply. Does not apply if German units are out. Okay, so we can't use that because there's nobody there. So activate the 3C unit with the most units in a 2 hex radius, and all those units and all units stacked with those units. So basically the third core, that's these right here. So it says activate the C unit core in its 2 hex radius and all those units and all units stacked with those units. So I can activate these two. I can activate all 3 of these actually because they're all within 2 hexes of each other. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So they're already in town, so they're not going to move. But we will bring in, so they've got 2 steps. I am going to bring this unit in. So to move into a town, infantry is just 1, so they're going to move into there. Let's make sure that we're doing that right because I know there's priorities for everything. Okay, so let's put him back. He may not be able to go in there. So the next step is move to emptied or garrisoned VP hex to which Soviet unit proximate. If city may move in. Okay, so he can, if starting in a VP, so he can move in there. So he's just going to move into there. This unit is in zone of control right there for them. But what they're going to do, they're not going to do anything because, well, they have to move, I guess. If in danger of surround, move to position hex not in danger of surround. So they can't be surrounded. But if I moved them here to there, they could be. So he's just gonna, they're gonna stay there, so they're not gonna do anything. So that should be it for that activation. So that impulse is over for the Germans. We put that in the card hand. And then we activated the 3, so I'm gonna grab that activation chit. There it is. And I'm going to put it over here just so we know it's been activated. So now it's the German impulse. So we get to play another card. And I think this time we are going to deploy the 6th Army. So we're going to activate all units in the 6th Army. So I'm going to grab my 6th Army activation. Put it there. 6th Army is these like light green units down here. So then with them, they're going to try to push through here a little bit. So we're going to go ahead This unit's going to move out of zone of control for 1, 2, and then go into here for 3. This unit's going to go 1, 2, and jump into there. And this unit's going to go 1, 2, and jump into there. So they're activated. They've been activated. So those have all been activated. So now we go back to the combat step. So we've moved. So now we go to combat. And again, so we just go right down the thing. So we declare a target. That target is going to be this unit right here. Then we see if we're going to play any cards. So we may play the tank because we don't have any tanks in this battle. So we're going to go ahead and play Tank Brigade. And again, Tank Brigade makes it look like we have tanks in the battle. Add 2 to Soviet combat strength if attacking, 1 if defending. Reduce total hits incurred by the Soviets in the combat by 1. Okay, so that's a good card to use. Now the Germans are going to grab their card and see what they get to do. Artillery, so they get to use that. So that'll come up in the chit pool part of it. So I think you guys can see all those cards. So these are the cards that are in action. So now we're going to, after we do that, and the Germans have pulled their card, then you're going to draw combat chits. So we look at this. So the minimum combat chits we're going to get is that's a 2-step unit. So they're going to automatically get 2. And then 1 to 2-step units get 1 chit. 3-step units get 2 chits. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chits additional. Then you get 1 for the card. So 6 chits. And then we get 1 for artillery for 7. So we have 9 total chits. Now we don't have to use all 9, but that's the maximum number. So the minimum number is 2, the maximum number is 9. We're going to add up combat values. So we have, and that's why I use another die for, because to put the odds down. So they've got 3 combat factors. We've got 4, 8. Oh, so we get 2 more. I think it was increased by 2, right? Add 2 to Soviet combat strength if attacking, yeah. So we get 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 total, and then we add 2, so we get 18. So they're 3, so 3 times, so 6 to 1 odds, right? 6 times 3 is 18, and we'll just put the odds right there. So it's a 6 to 1 odds there. We're going to draw the first 2 minimum we're going to draw. And we're just going to shake those up in here. And we're drawing the first one is city or attack not supported. It's not in the city. Town, woods, or broken. It's in clear, so that does not play. So we put that over there. That's 1. Now we draw 1 more minimum. Attack greater than 9 to 1. It's not. Attack less than 4 to 1. It's not. So that goes over there. So that's 2. So now we have to decide how many extra we're going to need. They have 2 steps. So we're going to draw. We can get 7 more chits. We're going to draw 5 more chits. That's all we're going to do. So after our minimum, we're going to draw 5 chits. So the first chit, dispersed unsupplied. Nope, that does not play. Defender adjacent. There is a defender adjacent right there. So D -1. So that means the defender gets to take -1 off their hits. We're not off to a very good start so far. We've got 4 more of those chits to take. The next one, greater than 3 to 1, it is. Less than, okay, so it is greater than 3 to 1, so the attacker takes a hit there. Or, I'm sorry, that says less than 3 to 1. It's not. Greater than 8 to 1, so that doesn't play. Sorry about that, folks. So we get 3 more to go. Man, we really need some results here. Next one, greater than 2 to 1. Yes, it is. Less than 1.5. Nope, so it's greater. So those two are actually going to cancel each other out, so that doesn't do anything. So we need 2 decent chits right here. So last 2 chits, maybe I should have taken all of them. The next one is greater than 7 to 1. It's not. Flank attack. So to have a flank attack, let's double check. Sorry for the pause, folks. There's a place in here that talks about the chits and what they mean. I just got to find it. Probably under the chit draw, I would think. There we go. Flank. Applies if attacking units occupy 2+ hexes not adjacent to each other. So nope, that doesn't come into play because they're adjacent. Man, this is horrible for the Soviets. And last but not least, undispersed, no. Defender adjacent, yes. So, boy, this really didn't work out well for the Soviets. So the Soviets get D-1, D-2. They only took 1 hit. Now that chit is a different color, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. So basically, they don't get any hits, and the attackers take a hit. So yeah, that didn't work out the way we wanted it to at all. So we're just going to go ahead and flip that unit there. That was a big waste of time. And now, since we drew this chit that changes colors, we put all the chits prior to that back into the cup. So we're going to take those that came out and we're going to shake them up. We're going to take all those and we're going to shake them up. Hopefully get a better result than we did last time. So that's the end of that impulse. So we're going to take this over there. Again, that did not work out the way we wanted. So the German card goes back, and the 2 cards of ours, these are both supplemental cards, so they go into the supplemental draw deck. And now we draw 2 more. So the first one we draw is the 1st Guards Army, and the next one we draw is the 6th Army. So, and we activated the 6th, so that's right there. So that's going to go, that's the one we can't activate next time. So now we go over to the German Impulse, and you draw a top card from the German Impulse. So the 4th Panzer Army, which are the purple. So deploy any core reserves. There are none. So turn 3, above turn 3, it says replace steps. There aren't. So we activate them. So they are going to be activated. We're just going to put that there. So now let's go to the German activations. And they're not behind Soviet lines, so we go to move. So move to empty or garrison VP hex to which Soviet unit is approximate. So I'm going to move this over here. So move to emptied or garrison VP hex. So that would be here. And they have to do it in the 4th Panzer, so that's, so if you notice, so move to emptied or garrison, which Soviet unit approximate, so that would, the target area would be here. Move these over just so they're out of the way a little bit. These could also come into play too. So we're going to have to figure out which ones are going to be eligible, right? Move to emptied or garrison VP hex to which Soviet unit approximate. If city may move in danger of surround. If starting in VP hex, destination must have greater VP value. So I'm thinking that this gray line, they have to do something over here. So this one's not in play. So I think the first one that would be in play would be here. Okay. So now the only problem is there a Soviet unit proximate to there? And they all have 4, even if they had 6 movement here, they can't do anything because they're in zone of control there. They're in zone of control. So I'm not sure where my camera ran out, but we're right now we're doing an activation for the Panzer Corps, and the first thing it says is go to a empty or garrisoned hex, but it has to be proximate to a Soviet unit. And there's not a Soviet unit that is proximate to that. So we go to the next step. If in the 4th Panzer or Corps and in artillery, in the Soviet artillery zone, move to a hex outside zone. Preference not in danger of surround. Empty, not adjacent to a German hex. Non-clear hex. First time during movement that unit leaves position hex or leaves hex adjacent to empty position hex, not adjacent to a Soviet unit, place garrison in the hex. Okay, so position hexes are the ones with the yellow. So if they're activated here and they want to get out of the barrage zone, they're going to go, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it says, first time during move that unit leaves position hex or leaves hex adjacent to an empty position hex, not adjacent to a Soviet unit, which would be that, place a garrison marker. So garrison markers are kind of like speed bumps. They're just there to slow you down, and I'll show you that there. So that goes there. So I'm pretty sure that one's right. Again, if I'm not, just let me know. This unit here would go 1, 2, 3. So yeah, so they could go back into here. And there a garrison would go in 27. And then this unit would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it non-clear hex, and we'd put a garrison unit in 28. All right, so I'm pretty sure that's correct, or as sure as I'm going to be. So we're going to go ahead and put that card back into the German deck, or in the discard pile. We're going to put the activation marker here so we know that they were activated. And we go to impulse number 3 for the Soviets. So we are going to use, let's see, activate all the units in the Guard, or we could activate all units in the 6th Army again, which is down here. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is make a mess. I think what we're going to do is we're going to use the 69th Army activation, and we're going to activate 2 unit stacks in 69th Army. So we're going to put that right there sideways like we're using it. So we're going to grab the 69th Army activation. And we're only activating 2 of these guys, so we will activate this stack and this stack. So all that they're going to do is they're just going to move up to there. So that's that. So now we go ahead and check. We define, again, back to the declare target hex. So the target hex will be this hex right here. They actually have 4 combat power in there. Okay. So we declare, now we can play cards if we want. And we are going to play the Reinforced Battle card. And the Reinforced Battle card does this. Select 1 active or inactive stack that did not move or attack in the current activation that could reach the combat in a single move to participate in the combat. The selected units must be supplied undispersed in the same front as the unit in combat. Reinforcement, obey stacking rules when defending. Yep, so we're going to add these. We're going to add the 40th over here. So that's what we're going to do there. Now we're going to draw a German card. And the German card is Remnant. And I'll put a block on here And this will be just so I can show you what remnant means when we're done with the combat, because it's done after combat. So now we've got our combat here. The minimum chit draw, so they're both one-step units. Nope, there's a two-step, so they're one or two steps. So minimum is 2. Ooh, that could have been disastrous. So the minimum is 2. And then we get to add, for 3 strength units, you get to add 2. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got a card for 8 and artillery for 9. So we get 11. We can actually get 11 total chits. So we're going to draw the initial, which is 3. So we shake this up. So this actually should be 12, I think. I only added 2, I think. So we shake this up and we're going to draw the first 3 chits. First one, flank attack. So yes, that does, because there are 2 units that aren't adjacent to each other attacking. So that's 1. Next, attacker command 3, 4, 5. So the command number is the circle card number right there. He's a 1, so that does not come into a play. Oh, yes, it does. Attack command a 1 is an attack 1 thing, so that's not good. Then we draw the last minimum, attacker artillery -1, so we do have that. Oh, defender artillery, they don't. So that would have taken preference because of the P, but they don't have any, so that goes there. So that the good thing is the attacker, that's going to equal each other out. So now we've drawn our minimum, so we have 9 we could total take. So we're going to actually take 6. So we're going to take 6 more, and that's all we're going to take. So the first one we take, large attack, and that's more than 7 chits, so that does work. Then we're going to draw, so let's do this. Let's separate them so we know. We've got 5 more to take. Next one, town or city, no. Clear, yes, so the defender takes another hit. So 3 more, or 4 more actually. I probably overdid it here. Dispersed, unsupplied, defender adjacent, yes, so the D's going to take 1 off of there. So we've drawn 3, we get 3 more. The attack greater than or less than 4, so our attack is 4, 8, I forgot to do the odds. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to 4. So 4 times 4 is 16, so it's 4 to 1 odds. So less than 4 to 1, that's not. Greater than 5 to 1, it's not, so that doesn't play. So we draw 2 more chits. Artillery for the attacker, yes, so that works. And then 1 more, so we've drawn 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 1 more. City, towns, nope. Undispersed, so that doesn't come into play. So now we add up the total, so we can take these all out. So these all are in play, so the defender's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits that they have to take. Okay, so that is going to look like so even if they go back 2, that will be eliminated. Let's take the big unit first. So combat's here. So this unit goes back 2. If they go back 2, that takes off 2 hits. And they both have to go back 2. then he would be eliminated. He would flip, and then he would be eliminated. So they're both eliminated. Pretty sure I did that right. So put those in the elimination box. And we go ahead and take all the defender. So we need to leave that, and we need to leave that, because the attacker needs to take their hits. So the attacker has a -1 here and a 1 there, so those two cancel each other out. And then there's 2, so we have to take 2 step losses. So it has to be the big unit, has to be one big unit first, so they're going to get a replacement, and that's the 309th. So we're going to grab the replacement for them. So that's 1 hit. And then the next one will be taken by this unit here. That's 2 hits, and that's their total hits. So those go away. So now we can advance. So again, only armor can advance, 2. So all they're going to do is this group's going to advance into there. They're going to advance into there. They can't advance because they were the reinforcement. And they will advance into there as well. This stays over here. We pull that off, and that is the 3rd impulse for the Soviets. And now we're going to do 1 more impulse for the Germans, and we're going to end this here, and we'll start over after our next turn. So that goes away. The German card goes back into the deck. The 2 cards that we use go back in, and 1 goes into primary and 1 goes into supplement. We draw 3 cards or 2 cards to get our hand back up to 5. And now the Germans play. So now the Germans flip over a card. And the first thing on there is deploy all reserves from the 1st Panzer Army. So I don't think we have any of those. Oh, maybe. First, check every eligible unit for deployment by method A, deploying those meeting criteria. So we're going to see if we can deploy them. So again, this is a 1st Army, so they've got to come in on the left side over here. And I think we're going to run into the same thing with that, where they can't, because it's got to be, first thing is hex is empty or garrison or city, but it says Soviet unit has to be proximate. I don't think a Soviet unit can, again, we discussed that before, same situation applies, so we can't do that one. So now we use the event delaying force. So let's look at that. In the indicated German army area, place a detachment, which is a garrison, in the empty position hex that is in German reserve supply, a VP hex or within 5 hexes of a German unit, and to which a Soviet unit is proximate but not adjacent. I don't think that can happen either. Yeah, nobody's going to be able to get proximate, again, because of that, so we can't use that one. So then next goes activate all of the 2nd Panzer. All right, guys, let me see if I'm doing this right. So it says activate all 1st Panzer Army units within 2 hexes of the 1st Panzer Army unit with the most 1st Panzer Army units in a 2 hex radius. So this would be the most, so within 2 hexes, so it'd be these 2 units here. So going down the priority chart, move to empty or garrison VP hex to which a Soviet unit is proximate. If city may move end of surround if starting in VP hex, destination must have greater VP. So it can't go here. These guys can't do it because they're going from 2 to 2, which isn't greater. If in danger of surround, move to position hex not in danger of surround. So nobody's in danger of surround. Lowest position number is the next one. So I'm thinking that these This army here has to go 1, 2, 3, 4 into there, because that's a 5 number. And it would make sense going into a city. And they would do the same thing. And now these would have to go to the lowest number, which would be 3. So I think they have to go here, here, and there. I think that's what it is. Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and end this here. So if I did that incorrectly, let me know. I'm only going to do a few impulses at a time until I get comfortable and make sure I'm doing things correctly. So again, let's learn together. If I'm doing something wrong, just let me know. And we'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.